Hello YouTube, it's Silver Contrails here. I'm thinking about starting a new tech series about Yu-Gi-Oh! Different cards that we can run to flesh out decks that work for just about anyone. I hate doing specialized videos or specialized articles for that matter that focus too much on just one deck, one small part of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community. It's fun to talk about decks from time to time, but I like to talk about more generic things most of the time. And you'll see this if you look over the course of all of my articles, all of my writing, that I try not to focus on individual decks, individual builds as much as possible. And that's just my style of doing things. So I'm probably going to start doing a tech series talking about different tech cards that you can run, different engines, different things that are splashable, different things that are applicable to just about everyone, general strategies. Now, the first couple cards I want to go over, or the first card I should say, is actually comes from a group of discarding traps. Traps that you activate, you discard a card, and they have pretty good effects, better than the cards that don't have those discards. I'm talking about things like Raigeki Break, or Karma Cut, or Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. This is a card from Elemental Energy. You discard a card to target one card on the field and return it to the owner's deck, or the top of the owner's deck. Now, why Phoenix Wing Wind Blast is good? There are a lot of reasons. First of all, returning cards to the deck is a powerful game mechanic. Cards like Razia the Storm Monarch were considered very, very good until we got Caius later on. It's very, very powerful, very controlling, because putting a card on top of the opponent's deck means you know what they're going to draw next. That's very important. If you know what they're going to draw next, you know how to react to their next play. You can control what they're going to draw. That's not something you get with any other game mechanic right now. Spin is very important, and it's something that I don't see very many players capitalizing on. Now, Phoenix Wing Wind Blast has a lot of applications to this format. It's not just that it's a good card generically. It has applications to this format, and people aren't using them. First of all, let's talk about its interactions with one of the most played cards in this format, Reborn Tengu. Now, as we all know, if Reborn Tengu is removed from the field at all, you special summon another Tengu. Unless Tengu is sent back to the deck, in which case, no effect. You activate Phoenix Wing Blast, you target their Tengu, and suddenly they are lacking a monster, because Tengu's effect won't activate. Yeah, they're going to draw into it next turn, but it means that they're going to be stuck with that Tengu sitting in their hand next turn. They're not going to get their effect. This is going to be much better alternative to Debras and Bottomless Trap Hole, other traps that you'd probably be playing. So if there's a Tengu that's just ruining your day, or they're planning to go off on a synchro play, Phoenix Wing is very, very helpful here. And it's something that I don't see players using. You know, I used to be a big fan of things like Karma Cut and Raigeki Break to some extent. But now with Tengu running around everywhere, Phoenix Wing Wind Blast is by far the better choice. The alternative, I suppose, would be Divine Wrath. But I'm not quite sure I want to go with that one quite yet. And I might explain my thoughts on that later, in a later video. So, another overused card that we see a lot, Stardust Dragon. Like a lot of cards, Phoenix Wing Wind Blast is going to get around Stardust Dragon. Stardust won't be able to negate it. The only thing that can really stop Phoenix Wing is going to be things like Thought Ruler Archfiend, or something that can negate traps. Particularly Xian, which isn't really played, or Lagia. The trick is, yeah, Lagia can pitch its 2 to get Phoenix away. Obviously, it's going to have to if it can, because it won't survive. But Phoenix Wing Blast is completely chainable, which is probably the best feature it has. Given its chainability, you can do a lot of things before Lagia ever hits the field. And better in a lot of instances than something like Smashing Ground would be in this sort of a matchup. So, take, for instance, standard play, Tour Guide play. Your opponent summons Tour Guide, searches out another Tour Guide. In this instance, if you activate Phoenix Wing Blast and send back a Tour Guide, it puts you in a weird position where they have that next tour guide next turn. They also have a completely exposed tour guide, which can be nice to flip off the field. You can wait till they Xyz summon as well, and then you can knock that off the field, and then their materials go to the graveyard. The problem oftentimes with them Xyz summoning is they're going to get that priority. They'll get a priority to use Levier's effect, and they'll probably grab back their Rescue Rabbit, in which case they're going to be making a Lagia or a Doka. Not something you really want. So you want something that can take out that tour guide play. It has a lot of versatility whenever you activate it. And this is really where Phoenix Wing Wind Blast, its strengths come out. It's versatile no matter where you're playing it. Whether you're using it in direct response to a play, or whether you're using it afterwards. It's also a good top deck at times, because you can top it, set it, and have it still make a reactive play next turn. Or use it proactively, which there are a lot of applications for. But again, Tour Guide, if you have to use it when Tour Guide's summoned because you're afraid of that priority on or on a Levier or something like that, then definitely go for it. Conversely, which is something that Bottomless Trap Hole obviously loses to. If you have Bottomless set and they try to do that play, you're obviously going to have to Bottomless the Levier, in which case they've already got priority and they already have that Rescue Rabbit coming back. Not something you're looking forward to. Yeah, you can stop the Rescue Rabbit play, but again, they have that Levier on the field. If you can't take out Levier next turn, for whatever reason, because they have a set trap or whatever, then they're just going to do that combo again, and you're back in the same spot. So Phoenix Wing lets you deal with that a little bit better than some of the other cards that are running around right now. So, on that note, Wing Blasts, what are you going to discard for it? There's a lot of things right now. We see everyone discarding Lights and Darks to fuel Chaos. We see people discarding Tuners that bring themselves back from the graveyard. Right now, my favorite is to pitch extra copies of Tengu that are dead, or stuff like Volcanic Shell. There are a lot of things to pitch, more than you probably realize in your deck, that you can use to discard for Wing Blast. Sometimes players will have extra copies of Tour Guide that they can discard. It depends on the deck. Obviously, it doesn't work in everything. There are decks that just cannot afford that extra discard cost, and there are decks that just can't really do a whole lot with that extra turn or so. One of the ways I really do enjoy using Tour Guide, or not Tour Guide, but Wing Blast this format, is I'll set it, whatever, and then I'll flip a back row. I do this a lot. Players will set one back row and end, and I'll flip their back row back on top of their deck. And this really startles them because it throws off their ability to stop me next turn, and I know they're going to draw into that back row again. And that gives me a lot of time to deal with threats. Assuming I'm not just like discarding random crap that I need. Another combo, Mind Crush is back at 2, meaning you can flip something with this, and then Mind Crush it out of their hand. This is actually a pretty good combo. You can really get rid of some important stuff that your opponent might need. Not everything is playable out of the graveyard. Some things you really need to hold on to, especially since Mind Crush can get rid of really potent cards. Even something like, I almost don't want to say this, stuff like Dimensional Fissure or Macrocosmos, you can actually you can knock those out of your opponent's hand at times. They draw into it next turn and then knock it out. And it's really funny if you Wing Blast it and then they draw their card and you Mind Crush and they have another copy on their hand, they're going to lose both copies. Sometimes this happens, sometimes it doesn't. It is a great way to make Mind Crush even more live than it is this format with all the searching going on. So that about wraps up what I want to say on Phoenix Wing. If you think this is a series that you'd be interested in, comment, rate, subscribe. But particularly comment and say what you'd like to see in this series. Been doing a lot of Minecraft videos, or I think I will be doing some Minecraft videos, as well as Yu-Gi-Oh videos, and probably trying to find some way to hold my iPhone so that I can take better video. I know it's a little bit shaky, it's because I'm holding it with one hand. So, until next time then.